Welcome to Spotlight On. I'm Jack Ramirez, Managing Editor of the Richland Chronicle. Joining us today in the studio today is Kelly Drablos, Volunteer Deputy Registrar with Richland Votes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so obviously the spring primary is going to be the first time many of Richland students are going to get to vote. What will be their first experience?
Well, actually, if they've registered this fall, they can vote in a more esoteric election in November on the 5th. That will be amendments to the Texas Constitution, and there's lots of information available to help you walk through that process. But the spring primaries are is when it's going to get exciting. You'll have to do a little bit of research because you have to make a choice. When you vote in a primary in the state of Texas, you must pick the Democratic primary or the Republican primary. Some people who are independents may not vote in either, but if you choose to vote in the primary, then you'll need a slate in advance, and any number of the presidential primary will be on the ballot, a senatorial primary will be on the ballot, any number of all of the House of Representatives elections in the whole state will be on the ballot. State Senate, state House seats will be up, all the way down to probably city positions. So lots of excitement, lots to learn about, and I recommend everybody start with vote411.org, which is a League of Women Voters site. You can punch in your address and you'll find out what your ballot personally is going to look like.
Now, is there any required registration to bring?
To take to the polls,
Yes.
You must have been registered in a timely fashion, which is 30 days before any given election, and you must bring a picture ID.
All right.
And there are a number of complicated options, but the simplest and most straightforward are your Texas driver's license, your Texas state ID, or a passport.
Right. What about real ID? Should there be any concern or requirements for the election?
It's required in the state of Texas, so you have to have that picture ID, and your student ID won't work, so you have to have that Texas state issued ID or a passport, and then some other exceptions, a military ID, a gun permit. That probably won't apply to most students, but yeah, it's just the law, so that's what you have to show up with. Or you can sign an affidavit explaining why you weren't able to obtain the picture ID. So that is one way, potentially, to avoid the requirement.
How will students know where to go to vote?
Again, vote411.org is an option. Certainly your Dallas County website is an option. The Secretary of State website is an option. And you put in the address at which you are registered to vote, and you'll find out about your precinct. But because of a positive, in my opinion, change of law, you should be able to vote in at any open polling place in your county at the times that those polling places are open. So for anybody on this campus, the easiest thing to do is going to be vote on the polling place that's open on this campus. But if that isn't convenient, you just have to stay in your county, the county in which you are registered to vote. You must vote at a polling place that is open in that county.
All right. At the polls themselves, would there be any assistance provided for students?
Yes. Obviously, somebody can't be involved in telling you whom to vote for, so you have to have made those choices before you show up, but somebody can help you through the process for sure. You just ask.
All right. Now, at the polls themselves, are you going to go more futuristic with electronic, or is it going to be kind of old-fashioned with the paper ballots?
In Dallas County, they have new voting machines, and I haven't seen the presentations about them, but there's literature available today. If you're on campus, you can get a little handout, but it's a new type of voting machine. That's what Dallas County uses. But it can vary depending on the county in which you vote.
All right. So who is hiring poll workers?
The counties hire the poll workers, and students can be poll workers and get paid. You can work. It's a long day. You'd have to take it off if you work the election day itself. If you work the early voting days, they're actually weekend days where polling places are open during the early voting period. But students can be poll workers. 16-year-olds can be poll workers.
That's great. So why should students turn out for the primaries?
In a representative democracy, your one opportunity to exercise your obligation in some people's mind, but I think more importantly, your right to vote is at the polling place. And if you don't, other people are making decisions for you, and potentially your interests are not being protected. And young people typically vote in very small numbers, and older people typically vote in much larger numbers. So the math is pretty simple. It winds up a lot of older people are making a lot of decisions for a lot of younger people. So if you want to have your own say, if you want to protect yourself, and also if you want to be a part of this wonderful thing that representative democracy is, you need to participate.
That's great. Well, that seems to be all that we have today. I'd like to thank Kelly Drablos with Richland Votes. If you're interested in watching any more episodes for Spotlight On, please go to richlandstudiomedia.com. I am your host, Jack Ramirez. Thank you.